These characters found themselves progressing through each of these investigations. They're not independent whatsoever. And in FEMA, we finally got some funding, $600,000 in 2002, and compare that to Monica Lewinsky's affair with Bill, which cost us $40 million. The Silverstein-Weidlinger report then came out to assist Larry Silverstein in obtaining his $7 billion claim. And then the NIST report, which we'll get to later on, a 3-year, $20 million effort at polishing their effort to hide the truth. So what does FEMA say in their investigation? Very interesting. The collapse of World Trade Center 7 had a small debris field as the facade was pulled downward, suggesting an internal failure and implosion. Very interesting language. They say demolishing the building so that it collapses straight down into its own footprint requires such skill that only a handful of companies, demolition companies in the world, will attempt it. Now, somebody correct me. I've heard that this isn't in the FEMA report, so I need to know. So if you can assist me with that, I very much appreciate that. But they do say very clearly, the specifics of the fires in World Trade Center 7 and how they caused the building to collapse remain unknown at this time. $600,000, and they are not willing to suggest a conclusion. That's not quite true. Their best hypothesis, they say, fire and then complete collapse, has only a low probability of occurrence. We agree. Further research, investigation, and analysis are needed to resolve this issue. That's for sure. Unfortunately, though, by the time the report came out, the site had been completely scrubbed by the order of FEMA, everything sent on a ship, many ships, to China to be recycled. Most all of that steel, very little steel remained. And steel is the evidence in any arson investigation is the building. Let's scrub the site. What else do they say? Well, the 9/11 Commission report, tasked with explaining everything, really, about 9/11, says, well, they don't say anything. There's nothing in the 571-page report that even mentions the third worst structural failure in modern history. The other two, of course, being the Twin Towers. Cheyenne Sunder of NIST says, NIST being National Institute of Standards and Technology, an agency whose head is, as part of the Department of Commerce, its head is appointed by the Bush administration. Truthfully, they say, I don't really know. We've had trouble getting a handle on Building 7. Now, Max Cleveland resigned from the commission, stating it's a national scandal. This investigation is now compromised. He was livid. And that's a heck of a statement from a 9/11 commissioner. Well, where is the effort at finding the truth about what did happen to Building 7? Well, it's been subcontracted to Applied Research. ARA is directed not to examine the 1st through the 7th floor, though, or the 47th floor. Why? This is where all the evidence of controlled demolition is. On the penthouse, which drops first, indicating core column damage, of course, and then the 1st to the 7th floor, where all of those sounds and sights of explosions were heard. Unbelievable. So that's expected out, I think next year. Well, do we have a free fall speed of collapse? You can compare, of course, the photos every second, and you see the downward gaining momentum due to the force of gravity, meaning that the columns gave virtually no resistance. They all had to be removed at once, synchronistically climbing floor by floor. A graph of free fall, of course, confirms our suspicion. Do we have expert corroboration? Well, Danny Jowenko, the top European controlled demolitions expert, says it starts from below. They simply blown away the column. This is a controlled demolition. A team of experts did this. It's professional work, without a doubt. Now, this is when he was shown the video, not even realizing that it was a part of 9/11. They just asked him, would you look at this building and tell us if it's a controlled demolition? So, unbiased opinion. Hugo Bachmann, professor emeritus and former chairman of the Department of Structural Dynamics. In my opinion, the building, World Trade Center 7, was with great probability professionally demolished. Let's take a look at those squibs, or mistimed explosions, in this side-by-side comparison with another known controlled demolition on the right side. This is an Italian TV debate program. They look very similar. Straight down, smooth, symmetrical. Now we're zooming in on the upper right. This is your chance to see these squibs again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Synchronistically timed, floor by floor. Fire doesn't do this in buildings. There's no fire engulfing this building. What brought the upper floors down? Now, your eyes are not deceiving you. Okay? These can only be explosions. The video is not touched up. This is network TV. You can verify it. You can't say, no, I don't believe in demolitions. You can't, without resolving this issue and 24 other issues you're going to see during the course of this evening. You can't pretend that you didn't see this stuff, and you can't forget that you saw it. It's extremely important that you remember each of these key pieces of evidence so that you can deal with your own mind as your own mind starts to tell you that this couldn't possibly have happened in this country. Okay, it's extremely important that we wrestle with ourselves. Each one of us in this room have had or will have to do that. And it is an extremely uncomfortable position to be put in because it challenges our very basic assumptions about very, very many things which we'll be getting to. We are hardwired, for instance, to believe that we live in a safe world, that, well, we don't know who's responsible for this, so we need to ask a lot of questions. Fortunately, the architects and engineers from elementary do not seek answers in our presentations to those questions because they bring up a whole lot of argument and debate, and it's endless. But the scientific facts are not debatable. Well, some of them can be, and we'll talk about them in a Q&A. Do we have molten metal in Building 7? And you will see that we have a whole bunch of it. And I'm going to put that off until we get to the Twin Towers. Do we have foreknowledge? Well, Chief Nick Bastani says, we're moving the command post over this way. That building's coming down. Wait a minute. Never before in history has a high-rise steel frame building come down due to fire. And all of a sudden they're announcing this particular building is coming down. Very curious. And you're seeing in an interview with Guns and Butter, Bonnie Faulkner's radio show out in Berkeley. By noon or 1 o'clock, they told us we had to move from that triage site up to Pace University, a little further away because Building 7 was going to come down or was being brought down. What? Is that the actual word, being brought down? The fire department. Yeah, they did use that word. We're going to have to bring it down. Very interesting. Well, to tell you the truth, fire departments do not bring buildings down. They try to save them. They're not licensed to do that kind of work. Well, let's listen to these unusual construction workers walking away from Building 7, caught on CNN. Construction workers are telling us it's going to come down. The police officers telling us it's going to blow up. What do they know that that 75% or more of Americans do not know? And why didn't we hear this in the media? And why weren't these people interviewed on 60 Minutes? Well, it's better than that. The BBC announces it 20 minutes before it happened, and it actually collapsed.
Sound project building collapsing, and indeed it has. In fact, that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attack. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Gage. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building that's collapsed?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York, behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has